Welcome into a live edition of the KC Laboratory presented by Emprise Bank, member FDIC, our wonderful partners in Possible here at KC Sports Network. And Mondays are back to being Matter days. Hamilton's here. Hamilton was distraught because he was the only one not in KCSN gear. So what does he do? Pull it up, back up for the people. Look at that.
Oh, yeah. We got the coaster.
Look at that KCSN koozie.
It was either that or we all took off KCSN gear and just go shirtless. So luckily he found a little coaster.
It's towards the end of the year. It's getting
Towards the end of the year.
I'm just saying the summer bod's a little gone from old Kent over here. So I don't think I was gonna take my shirt off.
Okay. That wasn't actually on the table.
Yeah.
Maddie,
so if this was 3 months ago, you would have done it, is what you're saying.
Noted.
Yeah.
Noted for the off-season showcase.
It's the negotiable. It's been negotiable at that point.
June to July, it's okay to do a tummy out stream. After that's a no-go.
No one's watching in July anyway.
True.
I just think Maddie's like so surprised because like Maddie is actively trying to take his shirt off at all times. Like Maddie, if he could do podcasts without shirts, I think he would. Like that's why the sleeves are never on his shirts ever.
Facts.
And like if you're gonna lift as much as Maddie does, I get it. And if you need to overcompensate for everyone thinking you're 5'4", you also need to do that too to show the broad shoulders.
And the problem is cyclical. It's cyclical, right? Like, because I work out every now and then, people think like, oh, I must be making up for something. So they think I'm even shorter. So like they think because I work out, they think I'm even shorter than I am. And I just chasing an unattainable goal here just for people to believe that I am over 6 feet tall. God.
And if you can drive farm animals off the ball, you gotta...
That's true.
Yeah, there's videos out of him. Like, what do they think he's fighting? A miniature animal? Like, what?
Yeah. Probably.
Like a miniature sheep? Like a mini sheep? Is that what we're doing here? I like how Maddie's like, yeah, from time to time I work out. Buddy lifts every day. Every day.
Yeah, the dude's a tank.
He's an absolute unit. Okay. Yeah, earlier this week, Maddie was like, I've ran too much this week, so now I'm going to go lift. And I was like, I've done neither.
Yeah.
Listen,
I walked through Costco today. Does that
put
count?
me on a running list. I don't run. I sprint. There's a big
It depends on
difference.
how many samples you had. Yeah.
I had 0 samples at Costco.
Okay, so then it counts. Yeah.
We had one of those epic runs today. I'll tell you that. The fam, we put together a real good run at old Costco today. But
okay, you know what? We're already off the rails. So what constitutes as an epic run at Costco? I would like to know what falls in the category of an epic Costco run. Give me like the 3 biggest things.
We moseyed into the appliances. So we got a new popcorn maker.
Okay.
Wifey saw a wine rack that was somehow $7. So we did that.
Okay.
The Waterloos were on sale, so we bought 5.
Okay, that sounds epic. You got the Waterloos to put on the wine rack to make the popcorn that evening.
Look, when you're a Kirkland King, you get excited about the most mundane things when it comes to old Costco. And
Kirk Cousins is amped right now here.
Yeah, he gets me. He gets me, man. He understands. He understands why it's. Anyways, we had a great time at Costco, man. We just got back. Sorry, I'm a little late, everybody. That was on me. It's my fault. I'll wear that.
Who cares about starting the show on time? Let's get the water loose. That's much more important. Yeah.
Ever since Only Word Game showed up, no one starts on time. It's a cultural thing now. Like we found out you can start the show 7 minutes late, and now we just do it too. So appreciate everybody hanging out with us on the live stream and patiently waiting for the show to start. It is a Matter Day. It's Matt Swanson here with Maddie Lane and Matt Hamilton. And we are very excited to be talking about a Chiefs victory. And you know what, Hammy, before we get too far into this, we got to hear your takes. We got to get Hammy's thoughts on the Chiefs 30-17 bopping of the Fighting Dan Campbells. What do we think, Hamilton?
I mean, that's as big a win as you can get at this point in the season. I thought, as we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, like this offense has really put it together. This is their first time scoring 4+ touchdowns in 3 straight games in 4 years now. I thought the line, Jalen Moore stepping in there, not having Josh Simmons and being able to do what they did up front was a phenomenal sign. This thing is just clicking on all cylinders right now, and I think this is going to end up being the best offense that they've had in 4 years since Tyreek Hill left. And when you think about those Tyreek Hill teams too, like this is the best defense. I think this defense is better than any of those teams had too. So in a weird way, I know like it's so weird to talk about it this way because this team has gone to 3 straight Super Bowls, but this is the most fun version of this team that we've seen in a while. And I think it is the most dangerous. It's going to be the most dangerous version of this team that we've seen in a while because this offense is just so much more explosive. They're not going to have to grind out these games anymore. And I think, we've seen enough of a sample size that I can confidently say that this team is, it's not even, I don't even want to say the Chiefs are back because this is a different iteration. Mm-hmm. And it's one that I am very, very excited for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I was kind of joking about it the other day, or I guess last night or this morning in our KCSN Discord. It's kind of more fun to watch this team that's fighting to be 500 than it was to watch the team last year that barely lost any football games, right? It's just been more fun. It's a different vibe. It's a different feeling because, yeah, the Chiefs have come up short on a couple of these close games this year, but when you consider what they were going through, the pieces they were missing, and then how those close games came about, you can very easily kind of spin that story or say, hey, 2 months from now, they're going to be a better team and they'll come out on top. Whereas last year, it felt like it was a lot of like, hey, maybe they'll figure it out. We can't see it yet, but maybe they'll figure it out. And then you also have the offense right now playing exceptionally well. And it feels like it's something that's extremely sustainable when, one, the offense keeps just getting better and better week after week. And two, I mean, I can't say this without emphasizing it enough. Their best skill player is coming back in their next football game. They have not had their best skill player all season now, and he is about to come back. So there's so much just excitement watching the Chiefs right now because the offense is finally back to what it was. And here's the thing with Steve Spagnuolo, right? The defense might have some ups and downs, but it doesn't matter. For a singular game sample, when they have to win, Steve Spagnuolo is going to have something that's going to work a couple times in a game at the absolute worst. We're going to talk about it a little bit. Obviously, they were better than a couple times versus the Lions, but at worst, you're going to get a couple stops. If the offense does what it does, it's a hard team to beat.
I think if you look at how Chiefs fans have consumed the Patrick Mahomes era, the first act was offense nuclear, changing the sport forever, leading from the front with the offense, right? And then this team kind of went into this just merciless grind you out version of themselves as weapons started to go away after they got rid of Tyreek Hill, all these things. And it was just not, it was ball security, trust your defense, complementary football in its purest form. Mahomes is still amazing, but maybe he's not trying to do too much all the time, all these things. And so, and they went to 3 straight Super Bowls and had the best era of Chiefs football ever. And actually, not just Chiefs football period. No one has ever done what that team has done in a 3-year stretch. So this boring 3-year dynasty. And now it's back to establishing the fun, right? It's like a different version of this team is going to lead from the front offensively. It's not the horses on the defensive side of the ball that are carrying this team. It is going to be an offense forward team again. That's what it feels like. That's what it looks like to this point. And I think it's been fun, I think, and energizing in a lot of ways for Chiefs fans to see that. I think there's reasons to be excited, not just about the short term, but the long term of this team, right? Because the offensive line is intact for at least one more season here in Kansas City. Or at least 5 quality offensive linemen are intact because Jalen Moore is here for 2026. There's reasons for optimism there. Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy will be back in Kansas City next year. At least, and so I think there's just overarching reasons for excitement and expectation for the offensive side of the ball. And defensively, it looks different than it has in the past, but that's okay. That's a new era. It's a new version of the Kansas City Chiefs during the Patrick Mahomes experience. And boy, howdy, let me tell you what, they put together a tremendous offensive performance against the Detroit Lions on Sunday Night Football. Hamilton, how much excuse? I'm going to ask you right before we get too down the rabbit hole with this. Is there a legitimate gripe? Is there a legitimate excuse, or how legitimized is the excuse of the Detroit Lions' absence in the secondary, or should we just be full send on how we think about this offense?
I mean, yeah, it hurts when you're missing your top 2 corners for sure, but I don't think it takes away from the Chiefs' performance at all in my mind. And again, it's one thing if this was the first game, if they'd been struggling the last couple of weeks and this is the first game they looked good. This has been mounting week after week after week. And again, you look at a lot of the big plays that happened, they weren't necessarily the fault of the backup corners that were in there. They were, taking advantage of Travis Kelce over the middle of the field against these Lions starters. Yeah, I'm not buying it. People want to make that excuse. They made the excuse about the Ravens. I'm not buying it. You play who you're going up against, and the Chiefs are making plays. And again, a lot of the plays that were made were against these the guys that are starting for the Lions. So yeah, I'm not buying it at all. I thought this was an especially big week too, to see Hollywood Brown step up the way that he did. We talked about it a little bit last week outside of that horrendous play on the final drive where he didn't get his head around. I thought last week was a step in the right direction for him, and this was by far his best game as a Chief. And I think that was a significant moment for this team too, even with Worthy back, even with Rashee coming back, to know that he can step up in some of these situations and make some plays, and you can actually design some stuff for him, and he'll make the most of it. I thought that was a significant moment for this team because, again, I think that's what's so exciting about this group, because even in the absolute peak of this offense, it was Tyreek, it was Travis Kelce. We were talking about it in our group chat a little bit earlier in the day. Looking at that 300 touchdown graphic from Mahomes is insane, because they're just the names outside of Tyreek and Travis, it really puts in perspective how little depth they've had in this group of pass catchers. And yes, I'm not taking, yes, you have 2 Hall of Fame talents in there, but outside of that, it was an interesting cast of characters. And now, you have legitimately 5 real weapons that you can go to on any given play. And it's going to make this offense just even that much tougher to defend, because there's not one guy you can really key on to take away. Everybody can make plays. And we haven't really seen Patrick with that type of a setup before. So it's super exciting.
Yeah, I don't think I buy into anything about the Lions injuries causing this performance in the Chiefs, because like Hamilton said there, the Chiefs offense had clearly since the second half of the Giants game been trending up, and it had also taken a big step once they knew they had Xavier Worthy back. That clearly unlocked some stuff, and they're figuring out what this offense is supposed to look like. It's they were clearly improving on their own before this, but then if you even focus specifically on this game, it's not like they spread them out and played in 10 personnel or 11 personnel and forced a bunch of, practice squad defensive backs on the field all game long. I know some played. I'm not trying to say that guys that would typically, wouldn't be playing weren't out there, but it wasn't like the field for the Lions was full of it. The Chiefs went with a lot of heavier personnel. They played in condensed. They let the Lions play their base defense, which, hey, they already led the league in base defensive reps as is, because that's what they wanted to do. They like their linebackers. they're very good, but the Chiefs kind of leaned into it. And then it was their plan of attack to, well, fine, you want to stay in your base defense. We're going to let you. But what we're going to do is we're going to use our speed and misdirection to run everything from condensed and breaking everything out towards the sideline. Every now and then we'll bring something over the middle to find a void in the space, but we're just going to go in tight and run everything away from your linebackers, and you won't be able to match us. And that has nothing to do with Terrion Arnold not playing. That has nothing to do with any other corners not being out there. The Chiefs just had a really good game plan for how the Lions defense was operating. Offensive line played well. Chiefs were getting the ball out quick. The receivers were on the same page with Mahomes the majority of the game. So you can 100% miss me with anything about injuries. That the corners had nothing to do with the Chiefs just consistently winning on these short outbreaking routes from guys coming from the slot or tight ends.
Yeah, and if you look at the like the next gen stats, nearest defender metrics, like only 3 of Mahomes' completions came with one of those corners as the nearest defender. There were 12 on those starting linebackers, 3 on Brian Branch, 1 on Amik Robertson. Yeah. But yeah, it was, they were taking advantage, as you said, of the middle of the field. And it really, like, when you put that in perspective, just 3 of those completions came on those backup corners, and it was a total departure from what I thought they would do going into this, knowing that those corners were out. But clearly it was, it was a decision made based on scheme and not personnel. And you can't argue with the results. It worked.
Speaking of the middle of the field, I'm calling all Chiefs fans. You could be on the field at the 50 inside GEHA Field for the official coin toss at a Chiefs home game this season. Visit Chiefs.com/GEHA now. Enter a chance to be on the field for a once-in-a-lifetime view of the pregame coin toss. Plus, you can score other exclusive prizes. Enter for a chance to win at Chiefs.com/GEHA. GEHA is the proud partner of the Kansas City Chiefs. I was thinking about something today. I have a big question for all of you about that game plan and that offensive line. I'll ask it right after this.
My name is Terrell Jolly. A lot of people call me TJ, founder and CEO of Integrity Capital Management. So Integrity Capital Management originally started out as a property management firm, but we slowly transitioned to what is described as an incremental development firm that's focused on situational housing. I know most people say affordable, but we believe in creating housing for people that are actually in need and built to the end user. I believe everyone needs a home, because when you have home, you have hope. The reality is that when you're building a business, one thing you don't think about is like what a true banking relationship means. And, I had the honor and privilege of meeting Debbie early on in my career when I was just trying to get going. And as a small business, it's really challenging at times because people don't understand the concept or not believe the longevity because you're just getting started. But Debbie was willing to take a chance on me, be patient with me. I almost look at it like a grassroots initiative. She's seen and believe what I'm about. Anybody that's really true about their business and want to get some things done, I would definitely trust hands down Emprise, because Deb's team, along with Aaron and Jackie and all the amazing people that work behind the scenes, even from the treasury side, I would say, hey, give them an opportunity, because you won't be disappointed and you will actually be in hands that actually somebody care and that will see you from start to finish.
Appreciate everyone hanging out on a Matter Day. It's been fun. I was thinking about the offensive line earlier today, and we know things kind of got weird for the Chiefs pretty late in the game planning process, pretty late in the game prep process, as Josh Simmons was unable to play in this game. A very late scratch, still a little hazy on the timeline and what exactly happened there. Jalen Moore steps in. I do, and actually, before we get to my question, Hamilton, what did you think of Jalen Moore playing over at left tackle, a last-second kind of addition on a day that he welcomes his 3rd child into the world, goes out there and plays left tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs? What were your thoughts on Jalen Moore's performance?
Well, I didn't realize the child part of that. That's pretty wild. Missed that. But yeah, I thought he played really, really well. 2 pressures allowed. He had the 1 sack allowed, but it's it is a tough spot last minute to have to step into, and that's why you invest the money in him. I mean, you got to feel confident now. If there are some injuries you have to deal with on that line, he's going to be able to step in and really produce. And I thought he and Kingsley worked well together too, which was important because that's the other thing you worry about with somebody stepping in there, is the chemistry. Kingsley had another really strong game. It was a really encouraging thing to see against a feisty Lions front.
Yeah, I thought he did some good things there in that game, and being able to step in last second and put that together. This was why the Chiefs did what they did. They weren't going to settle at the tackle position. They were going to do everything they could to make sure that the offensive line was intact, and they were prepared for a situation like this. Obviously, not necessarily this particular situation, but any situation that was going to force this group to shuffle and have to change some things up. I thought they did a good job. But my question was this. So I know Maddie, I think I can't remember if it was during the game, during the post game show. You made a comment about I think it was in the post game show. Now I think about it. You just made a comment about how I think the Chiefs did a good job of protecting Jalen Moore with the play calling. I don't know if I think they did. I don't think it was Jalen specific. I think it was we know Aiden Hutchinson was going to be out there kind of thing. We knew, Aiden Hutchinson was going to be on the field, and we're going to protect our either rookie left tackle, or we are going to protect Jalen Moore in this game. I don't know if it was a specific Jalen Moore thing. I feel like the call sheet probably was the call sheet walking into this game. I don't think you saw any skips there. Tell me why I'm wrong. Or do you think I'm wrong? Or do you think it was just tell me, give me some thoughts here. Because I've been thinking about this all day. And I just want to know where you kind of stand on this.
Well, we don't know if it's going to be a Jalen Moore specific or Aiden Hutchinson specific thing. We'll never know that because we have not seen them and are not going to see them unless we get to the Super Bowl. We will not see them play the Lions and Aiden Hutchinson with Josh Simmons. I mean, at least this season, right? So we won't know if it's about their personnel or the Lions personnel. That said, I did go back and look. Patrick Mahomes' average time to throw in this game was about the same as what it has been every other game. Even if you remove play action, it was about the same as what it's been every other game. However, if you look at their passes that were the time to throw was over 2.5 seconds, which is considered not quick, it's considered a long pass. Essentially, on only 2 of them, and they were both in the second half, was Jalen Moore one-on-one with Aiden Hutchinson. Everything else, there was a hard chip, there was some kind of misdirection, or a sprint out away from the left side of the field going the other direction. And then even when you go and look at these island one-on-one reps, there was 4 in the second half, 0 in the first half. Of those 4, 2 pressures, 2 non-pressures. So it wasn't like it was spectacular performance in those island plays. So I do think they were avoiding leaving Jalen Moore one-on-one with Aiden Hutchinson on essentially what's going to be a deeper drop. Now, would they have done that with Simmons or not? We don't know, right? Like this might not have anything to do with Simmons, but I will say when I really was kind of looking at it, and this is removing play action, trying to find all the plays without significant chips, rolling or moving the pocket away from them. So I do think there was some protection, and whether that is more or just in general, we don't know. I also will say this. We talked about it. I've been talking about it, how I think Mahomes is dropping deeper in the pocket. He's getting to the back of the drop on some of these plays and then drifting a little bit farther like he used to. I didn't see that in this game. I think that was gone in this game. And I do think if you go back and watch Jalen Moore for the 49ers or in the preseason, he doesn't have Josh Simmons' range. And that's not a bad thing. He does some things better than Josh Simmons. So we can talk about that here in a second. This is not like a straight up comparing to it, but he doesn't have that same range up the arc. So I do think it was in the back of Mahomes' mind, like, hey, I can't go 10, 11 yards on this play. My left tackle's not going to be able to keep pace with me that deep. And so you didn't see that extra little drift. Again, could have been game planned specifically for Hutchinson. I do think the Chiefs were at least aware of that they didn't have who they thought was their starting left tackle in there, and he was going up against a very good defensive end for the majority of the game.
What do you think, Hamilton?
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense. I mean, anytime you're facing an elite pass rusher like that, you're going to tailor your plan to him a little bit. But that is a great point about Mahomes' drops. I did notice that during the game too. It did seem like he wasn't quite getting the depth he had been earlier this season, or that we had seen from him, especially earlier in his career, when this line was at its best. All I know is you have to make sure next week, anytime you get a chance to get Noah Gray in an island against Max Crosby, you got to do it.
That play was wild because if I'm not mistaken, it was a Travis Kelce deep route was what they were waiting to develop. And do you know how long that takes to develop at this stage? It's 2025. We don't have 8 seconds for him to run 40 yards and try to outrun a safety.
I was just screaming that whole play. As soon as the ball was snapped, I'm just like, no. Waiting for Patrick to recognize it. Yeah, it was that was not their finest moment as far as this protection. And one I'm sure Noah Gray wants to scrub from memory as well, because a grown man just abusing you like that with one arm. Not to pick on Noah. It was a bad situation for Noah. It's not his fault.
Did as best as one could ask. Like, he lost very slow.
Yeah, it's true. But holy shit. Yeah, that was
Mahomes was just like, I'm gonna hang on to this ball for a little while. Trav's gotta keep running. He's gotta really open the stride up here. Any second he's gonna hit it, third gear.
Yeah. Sorry, not to derail the conversation, but that was just
that was everything I hoped it would be.
I did say I want to talk about what Jalen Moore does. I mean, just specifically a little bit better.
Can I
oh yeah, go ahead.
Just let me close the book on the theory conversation stuff. I do think a lot of what you saw in that game was already in the call sheet and was already like kind of baked into the game plan. I think it was more Aiden heavy protecting the rookie left tackle in a massive matchup for him. And I think it just tailored well to what was going to be happening in the absence of Josh Simmons. I'm not to say that no calls changed or anything like that. I just feel like it would be a very challenging thing to adjust on the fly as quickly as they did and put that thing together without a lot of it already being baked in with the consideration of Aiden Hutchinson. That's just my opinion. And how well and how smooth that whole thing operated, I think, is part of why I think that. Because that was... If that wasn't the case, good night. What this thing is terrifying moving forward, but I just tend to think a lot of what you saw was already baked into the game plan. How smooth the operation was, how consistent and reliable the whole thing was from start to finish, no hiccups. I just feel like a lot of that was Aiden driven, if I'm being, in my opinion, and if not, like, even more impressive, I guess, would be my thought process. Anyways, what did you have to say about Jalen Moore?
Well, and I guess we won't find out until November when the Chiefs play the Broncos, right? Because even if, and we don't know now, if Josh Simmons comes back for the Raiders, Max Crosby doesn't move sides like that frequently. He will every now and then, but it's not very frequent. So you're not going to see another premier edge rusher until you get to Nick Bonito for the Broncos. So maybe we'll get an idea in that game, but that's obviously an entirely different defense too for the Broncos. So yeah, we'll never find out scheme wise. The Chiefs threw the ball really short with those passes, not really giving their offensive tackles, specifically the left side, very many one-on-one opportunities. I thought was a little notable. But Jalen Moore's hands were really impressive to me. He did a really good job of staying balanced. And the thing that Simmons kind of struggles with, or at least was earlier in the year, and he's getting better at it, is getting his hands on edge rushers before they get hands on them. And what Jalen Moore was excelling at was he was giving Aiden Hutchinson his hands. He was letting Hutchinson try to chop down his hands, try to rip through them, but he wasn't ever like fully engaging. So he was just kind of flashing his hands out there, letting Hutchinson attack them. And then he was pulling it back and reattaching, countering what Hutchinson was doing. So I thought he was doing a great job. Now, sometimes that does put you into recovery mode, and it didn't always look the prettiest, but it was effective. Like for the majority of the game, it was quite effective. So I thought Moore did really good. I also, to Hammy's point earlier, I thought him and Kingsley were able to really create some movement on some of their double teams. And again, it's something Simmons and Kingsley have gotten better at working together. But I do think Jalen Moore kind of comes to a lot of contact, a little bit more power, a little bit more oomph at the point of contact more consistently than Simmons does. And so I thought that was kind of noticeable, especially on some of those wind back runs, the same side, inside zone looking stuff where they were cutting it back. I think you really got some defensive lines getting washed down because of Jalen Moore coming down the line of scrimmage. So for good stuff from him. I'm glad the Chiefs had him for a situation like this.
Yeah, I think just credit Brett Veach for the process, right? I don't think the process was necessarily leading to Josh Simmons. I don't think they signed Jalen Moore knowing that Josh Simmons was going to be available to them at pick 32 necessarily. But good on them for just continuing to devote resources towards solving such a big issue for this football team. And you can see, we're going to talk about Mahomes in a little bit, but you can see just the level of confidence that has changed for Patrick Mahomes with the 10 offensive line, the kind of tackle play he's getting to this point. So, very encouraging, very, very encouraging to see. What'd you have, Hammy?
Sorry, I thought Brett Veach was the worst general manager in the world because they lost a couple games early in the season.
4 weeks ago, Andy Reid was washed and the game had passed him by. And Brett, and look, like I will say, like, I don't think this team is perfect by any stretch of the word.
No.
And I still think that some of the things that have been issues in the past and have shown themselves this season, like it is, I think the defense is not as talented as it's been, right? And there's been some key special teams gaffes, and their kicker is significantly worse this season than he's ever been, and all this kind of stuff. But I just adjust your eyes on the curve a little bit here. This team is doing it with less resources than any team in the NFL because they are always picking last in the league or near the end. So I think they're doing just fine with the resources that they've had. A few mistakes, with some free agency stuff, but honestly, I don't think there's a lot to gripe with the process that the Chiefs have had over the last few years. Okay, let's talk about that defensive side of the ball. We're maybe not as talented as they've been in the past, and maybe there is some regression happening here on that side of the ball. But the Detroit Lions put 17 points on the board, and that was it. A team that is averaging double that over the course of this season. And the Chiefs slowed them down. Yes, granted, give some credit to the game script that the offense put in double dipping in the middle of half. Like, that was all good and well. But I still think that the defense and Steve Spagnuolo deserves a ton of credit for what they did this week, Hamilton.
Oh, absolutely. And especially when you look at as the game went on, obviously those first 2 drives were a little shaky. But to give up 7 points to this Lions offense on the final 6 possessions of the game is pretty damn notable. Nobody's like, outside of that week 1 game against the Packers, nobody's come close to slowing this thing down. And when you look at Jared Goff, yes, he completed a lot of his passes, but when you give up 23 completions for a total of 203 yards, that's a win for the defense. I don't care what the completion percentage is. Those aren't impactful plays, especially, again, given what this offense is. When you have guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta and Jameson Williams who can absolutely kill you after the catch or down the field, when, you're limiting those completions to basically nothing, that is a huge win. I thought the tackling was phenomenal, especially as the game went on. Jahmyr Gibbs had no impact on the game. Again, you're facing an elite tier offense, and it didn't look like an elite tier offense. And yes, it wasn't a perfect performance, but again, when you consider the level of competition that you're facing, this was as well as I've seen anybody defend this Lions offense over the last 2 years.
Yeah, every week it feels like the first drive is kind of Steve Spagnuolo seeing what the opposing offense is doing and trying to figure out what his changeups are going to be. And like, that's completely fine. The problem is it was more than just one drive. It was like 2.5 drives. And you're like, man, I don't see where these stops are about to come from in this particular game. And even on paper, the Lions looked like they were really set up to have their way with the Chiefs, and they kind of did. And, we can talk about some of the adjustments they made, but I think the biggest thing that stood out to me was just the Chiefs defense at one point in time just said, hey, we're going to come out and be a little bit more physical, right? I think the refs were letting guys play a little bit. And, I know people are having a heyday right now with refs again because the Chiefs.
Well, that's what's Brian. Brian Branch's big gripe was that they were letting him be physical. So.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs defense in particular, though, kind of said like, hey, we're going to come out and we're going to be a little extra physical. Like, we're going to come out and try to push you guys around again. We're not going to get blown off the ball over and over again. And despite Derek Notty's best efforts, generally speaking, the Chiefs were not getting blown off the ball every play after a certain point. And I think they threw extra linebackers out there. The Chiefs went with a lot of base defense. They started throwing in run blitzes that weren't straight downhill, but kind of like slanting them. So you saw your weak or your strong side linebacker who was kind of lined up out wide. They were run blitzing interior gaps. And like that angle was, I think, throwing off some of what the Lions were trying to get to in the run game. So they were able to stuff a couple runs near the line of scrimmage. Then once it got into second and like longer, you saw Noel Williams made some nice plays. Jalen Watson was getting really physical. Like you had these corners that were getting physical with the wide receivers. And so even if the pass was completed, it was another 3, 4, 5 yard gain setting up a third down. So I think they just decided to like strap their chin strap, pull up the boots real tight and just go to town. And like, I mean, hey, it worked out well.
Yeah, I think Steve Spagnuolo did some good stuff, like with some of the pressures, and like I think that's a good thought. Is like, yeah, they're bringing a safety and playing angles and a little bit that stuff. But I do think, like, thinking about it a little bit more, even after we talked about it last night, it was a lot of back to the basics, just good tackling, good, like being physical and tackling well went such a long way in this game for this team. And when you make such big blunders like they did last week against the Jaguars, like I think that it matters, right? It's just go out and make simple plays across the board. Go out and just do the right things. Like you saw that with a penalty-free football game, good special teams, good tackling, physical, playing fast. All those things kind of added up to an outstanding performance from both sides of the football and all three phases of this game. So, I think that was big. And oh, go.
Oh, sorry. And I do think like a lot of teams are afraid to be aggressive against the Lions because of all that talent. I think they're not used to seeing teams play the way that the Chiefs played them. They were in single high a lot, which the Lions don't usually see. I thought that aggressive mentality. Again, you're forcing an offense to deal with something they haven't seen a lot of, and I love how Spags has kind of done that a bunch of times. He kind of goes against the grain on what teams usually do to these offenses, and I do think that's been a significant part of his success here too. But you're right, it did seem like the mentality was different too. This was it wasn't just aggressive play calling, but it was an aggressive mindset from these players. They were physical. They took it to this line. So I think you play a team that like the Lions that everybody's like, oh, they're so physical, their line's so good, they're biting kneecaps, all this stuff. Like I think it does, it did seem like there was a little extra juice on both sides of the ball from this team to say, hey, like everybody thinks we're finesse, we're whatever, like we can be tough too, and we can get into this kind of a game, and we can out physical a team too. And I thought they were the more physical team than Detroit in that game.
They absolutely were, and that was a response. Like that was a response game. That was a challenge, and like you knew what you were getting into when you were, like after that Jaguars game. You just kind of felt it was more feeling than it was logic. I think why the Chiefs would beat the Lions. And hey, look, the Chiefs were favored 2.5 points. I think the perception of the Chiefs because they've struggled a little bit is probably not as drastic when the odds makers are looking at games, which is why people like, why are the Chiefs favored or only point dogs against the Ravens? And then it's like, why are the Chiefs favored against the Lions? Because the Chiefs are a good football team that's had some really boneheaded mistakes and done some really stupid things and haven't played well and have had games scrapped because of, like the Xavier Worthy call sheet was just scrapped against the Chargers and it took them a quarter and a half to figure it out, right? Like all this stuff, man. Like, there's a lot of it's a good football team, and it always has been a good football team, and they are still one of the best teams in the NFL. And we just need to get over like.
And before we get away from it, too, go ahead,
go for it.
Go ahead, me.
Okay, we've been a little critical of Chris Jones this year, right? We've been a tiny bit critical of him not taking over games. Like, listen, he didn't dominate this game, play in and play out, but in the biggest moments, Chris Jones was showing up in this game. And that was really nice to see because I don't think we've seen that this year. And I'm not saying he hasn't had some flashes and stuff. And I've said it and I still believe it. Chris Jones can't take over any game he wants, anytime he wants anymore. It kind of has to be, he's got to pick his spots. It's got to be the right look. It's got to be the right matchup. He's got to have it set up correctly. Like the margin for error for him at this age is definitely a little bit narrower than it used to be, but he kind of took his turn beating both guards and a center in just various different spots. It wasn't, again, all the time, but it was in some of the most important moments. And so I think that was really big for the Chiefs to to have their guy, hey, as Omar Norman Lott called him, the piston of their defensive line. It was good to have him show up in the spot because we hadn't really seen that much this year. And it was really unfortunate to not see any of the defensive ends really take advantage of the third string Dan Skipper at left tackle. Listen, Jalen Moore, great job for the Chiefs. Dan Skipper, somehow great job for the Lions. And I haven't, watched him in particular, but it was very unfortunate to see not a lot of pressure coming off that side for the Chiefs. But Chris Jones did a great job. The blitz wasn't really getting home. Goff had answers to the blitz early in the game, so they had to go with the 4-man pass rush. And again, it wasn't a ton of pressure, but Chris Jones got the wins needed. Mike Dana actually had a couple nice plays on the interior too. So shout out Mike Dana.
One other thought, you brought Dan Skipper up. There's a couple of times and Seth posted a clip of one of the big 3rd and 10 where Chris Jones beats Tate Ratledge, and Tate Ratledge gave him all he could handle. I mean, Tate
got that
Ratledge
arm over a few times.
I saw it too, Hamilton.
Oh no!
Come on.
The Bills are living right. The Bills are lucky. You want to talk about luck?
Oh no!
The Bills just blocked an extra field goal.
That would have made it a 2-score game in the 4th quarter. Yeah,
But whatever.
Yeah.
Only the Chiefs.
Well, they had a touchdown go out at the 1 to close. It should have been 28-7. It was so close to being 28-7. Bills over the Falcons. What were we talking? Oh, Chris Jones. Yeah. So
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. This is why it's a live show. We should be doing this more often. Tate Ratledge did some good things, but Chris looked like probably the best he has all year and made some big plays in big moments. And he moved around a little bit. He tried to go matchup hunt against Dan Skipper. And I don't know. And I think Mitch Schwartz might have said something, and we've talked about it a lot on this show. The whole Chris picking a matchup thing needs to stop. Don't let him out on the edge. I'm over the whole edge thing. I'm over him getting to decide, hey, you know what? I want to line up over Dan Skipper this play. It doesn't work. He's not as good at it. He's better along the interior. He's still got it from pass rushing from the interior. Lock him in between the tackles and let him go out there and cook, and quit giving him the freedom to go out and do it, and just let him cook from the interior. I think he's sick of the double teams. I think every now and then Chris just wants to go out there and not get double teamed out at the tackle spot. That's what I think happens with him. And I think it just let him cook from the interior. I'm sorry. I would like to see, I don't see the value in him rushing off the edge anymore. He's not 29 years old anymore. And just let him cook from the interior. He's done his best work from there all season, and he's done his worst work out on the edge, including losing Catane against the Chargers. So
yeah,
there's my little spiel. Maddie, you look like you're ready to crawl down.
I go back and forth. No. I just go back and forth. Because, and I think Mitchell Schwartz has talked about this too. Actually, it's the conundrum with Chris Jones out wide is he's got long enough arms that if you wait for him to get hands on you first, he's going to run through your chest. If you're an offensive tackle, you're not used to a 310-pound man that can reach you before you can reach him, being able to match your body weight, just your body mass, and then also have the strength to run through you, right? So you have to go attack him. The problem with Chris Jones is he's really smooth and slick with some of his tight rips and swims. So if you get off balance and you go to attack him before he gets hands on you, he still is athletic enough to not bend the edge like an edge rusher the way we think, but he is athletic enough to turn the corner. Now, maybe we're losing some of that athleticism, so it's not quite there. But I do think he does kind of present a unique challenge on the edge. I don't know if we're seeing it, and this is the same for the interior or on the edge. I don't think we're seeing him win at the same level he has in the past. And when that's the case, you also start to really hyperfixate on his lack of comfort or knowledge on how you have to play defensive end. Mm-hmm. There are certain rush lanes you can't take as a defensive end against certain drops or against certain coverages. And he just doesn't play out there all the time. So I don't think he knows that. And so when you're not winning at, 40% of your reps, now it's down to 20%. And then the other 20%, now you're also getting out of position. It makes it look worse. So I agree with you. The juice isn't worth the squeeze. I still understand why you do it though, because he's a little difficult for offensive tackles to match up with in that much space.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents.
Hamilton, do you have anything else to add on that?
I do. I lean towards more towards your side of this, Kent. I think at this stage, I think you're not necessarily putting him in the best position, putting him out there, and in the position where he can be most impactful. I would like to see him just stay on the interior more, but yeah, there's validity in what Maddie's saying too for sure. But I'm with you. I'm kind of overseeing him out there, but at the same time, the Chiefs do need more consistency from these edge rushers too. And I do think as we start nearing this trade deadline, I would not be surprised if we see that be an area that they address.
Can Breece Hall just rush the passer? That's all I ask. Hey, look,
I saw he just put up a post like free Breece or free 20 or whatever it was. Yeah, like an hour ago, right before we started the show. So who knows?
Bring him home. Bring him home. Wichita's close enough. We got to talk about the greatest player in the history of the sport, Patrick LaVon Mahomes. We'll do it right after this.
Chiefs Kingdom, I have got a question for you. What is your favorite touchdown? Well, for me, I can confidently say that my favorite touchdown, it's the next one, because with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, every touchdown could bring you closer to cashing in. From the first touchdown score to anytime touchdown props or the thrill of live in-game betting, every snap is loaded with opportunity. From spreads to money lines, same-game parlays, regular parlays, you want it, DraftKings has got it. Here's the best part. Bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. I use DraftKings Sportsbook, and you should too. Your team hitting pay dirt pays out to you. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN to turn $5 into $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, fees may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Minimum minus 500 odds required. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the boredom of the Chiefs dynasty. I don't know if it's just, sick of all of the winning the Chiefs have done. I don't know, but it took Ryan Clark, and I'm not just singling out Ryan Clark, it's everyone. But Ryan Clark was like, this week, tweets out, he's like, hey, it's like, Patrick Mahomes is playing great football. Yeah, we know, Ryan. We're well aware in Kansas City. Like all these national narratives all season, Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold. The best player on the planet is Patrick LaVon Mahomes. He's been playing outstanding football. I know he made a crucial mistake last week. Everything about the last 2 weeks outside of one play has been masterclass football from the best player on the planet, Patrick LaVon Mahomes. I don't think anybody is playing better than him at this point in the season. Hamilton, what do you think?
It's hard to disagree with you. I mean, 10 total touchdowns over these last 3 games. It's the most he's had in a 3-game stretch, by the way, too, since 2021. Everything's coming back kind of to 4 years ago levels of this offense. And again, it's not that he hasn't been playing at a high level throughout the last couple of years. It's just they finally have, I think, the pieces around him that are up to par with what an NFL offense should really look like, if I'm going to be honest. And it's not just, it's seeing what he did against the Lions, because it was a difference in approach, and whether it was because of Hutchinson, whether it was because of Simmons, whatever, more quick passes, not as many deep shots as we'd been seeing the few previous weeks. But the way he was able to just pick apart the lines in the middle of the field and not make mistakes, and that's really outside of that pick six against the Jaguars. He really hasn't made mistakes this year. He's protected the football extremely well, really at the best rate. I think he has the lowest interception rate right now of his entire career. While he's still putting up these big numbers. And there are a bunch of plays you go back to in that game where the quick snap decisions, the way he's able to decipher what the defense is doing off of some of these motions and finding the open man right away. He is just processing at an insane level right now. I think he is like the mental aspects of his game have gotten sharper, I think, over time. And that's something that I think like people don't really account for because he was so good right away. Like he is still improved. There's still improvements that we're going to see. He's still working on his craft. And especially in those areas, I thought especially in this game, like he deciphered what was going on so quickly and really picked apart this Lions defense. So, I really do think like we're seeing him play some of the best football of his entire career right now. He might not have 50 touchdowns this year, but as far as the quality of the quarterback play, but although he might if he keeps up the space, but
You keep
I think the
hammering those
quality,
options in the red zone.
yeah,
We're gonna put
yeah,
up 10 rushing touchdowns.
yeah. But no, I think the quality of the quarterback play is as good as it's ever been from him, and I think it's only going to get better here with Rashee back, which is scary to think about.
Yeah, there's a couple things. Like, I mean, what can we really say about Mahomes still, right? Like, we've kind of been talking about him all year because he's been playing really good. But I do think there's a couple things that are like still worth noting, and I think Rashee Rice is a big one because I was watching this game back, and it kind of just like hit me. I wonder if the ankle injury for Worthy's a little bit worse than we think because he just doesn't look as fast as he did last year. He's still quick and explosive, but the top end speed just isn't quite the same as what it was last year. So I just wonder if the ankle is a little bit bigger deal than we think. So with that in mind, what's scary about this Chiefs offense when you don't include Patrick Mahomes, right? Like Travis Kelce isn't a scary person to have to defend anymore. It's not Worthy if he's not going to be the fastest guy in the NFL at 170 pounds. It's not Hollywood Brown. It's not like there's nothing scary. Rashee Rice, kind of scary if he's playing like he was to start last year, right? So I think that only does take it to another level. But like I was just kind of processing it. This offense looks this good without, again, having a scary aspect of the run game. Not scary at all. Like there's just nothing you fear from this offense besides 15. And like that in itself is like, whoa, how are you pulling this off still? And like the comfort of the offensive line playing well, the trust in the wide receivers to make catches and to make plays and be where they're supposed to be. But I think Hamilton kind of nailed something there. It's the mental aspect and just consistently knowing, hey, this is what we're running. This is what the defense is doing. This is what's going to be open. And then Mahomes, his ability to not just change his arm angle, not just get the ball out quick, but to know when on this play, I can't take any steps. So I can't drop back. I just have to plant my feet and throw. On this play, I have to shorten my drop. So instead of being a 3-step drop, it's a quick 3. And then the ball's coming out. On this one, I have time to maybe, like, I need to drift to my right to change the throwing angle to find the gap between the hook and the curl flat player. Like he has so many little things that I do think come across as quote unquote poor mechanics when you translate them into not the scenario he's using them in, but in the situations that he's using them, it's what makes the play. And I think people, us included, like on the outside sometimes get lost in that. Or like he loses his mechanics. He's not paying as much attention to his footwork. He's not throwing the ball, the same all the time. And I think that was a big deal last year. And I do think it did, go beyond. I do think at times last year he was overstriding and rushing stuff because he didn't have that trust. But I do think the knowledge and understanding of what defenses are doing and then how he biomechanically needs to move and deliver the football to certain spots in the field is second to nobody ever in the NFL. Like nobody's ever been able to do those things quite like he has. And I do think people are starting to appreciate that a little bit more as he's playing better in the more traditional sense going forward.
I don't think I don't think you guys were trying to diminish the talent that's on the roster right now either when you were saying this, but like it's not like there is some trump card skill player on the roster. I think Rashee Rice might have the ability to be that. I do think there are elements of this offense that are scary. I think the vertical passing game is a little bit more scary than it's ever been, for instance, right? Like I do think that is legitimate, that there is, there are some things about, there's some things about the vertical passing game that I think scare some people a little bit more. Tyquan Thornton and Xavier Worthy, that the threat exists there. But I do think you guys nailed something in that, like, Mahomes is like this offense is built for reliability from Patrick Mahomes, right? Like the reliability and stability of Patrick Mahomes provides everything else around him, like is a through line throughout this offense, and not to diminish the skill players. I think there's something to be said about the different iterations of football that Patrick Mahomes has played over the course of his career and the different styles of football, and seeing all of them incorporated into the 2025 season a little bit, right? Because some of the creative young buck playmaking stuff has shown up. His legs have shown up. The ruthless efficiency that he showed and has shown during this let the defense go out there and help us win football games era. Everything's kind of like all of it kind of melding together, and then the welcome to your 30s Patrick Mahomes kind of thing, where he's seen a lot, he's experienced a lot. They're all in there still. Like all the versions of Patrick Mahomes that we've seen are in this 2025 season to start, and that's what's been so enjoyable to watch. And I think the offensive line is a huge piece of this. The confidence that he has in that offensive line is a huge piece of this. And feeling comfortable with the tackle play has gone so much farther for him. And I think it's only getting started, because I think the Rashee Rice experience here starting next week, paired with everything we've seen to this point, whew, I think it's the best offense in football. Certainly not the Bills right now, if you ask me.
and tying two things you said together, you said the vertical passing game is, it's scarier than it has been. Absolutely agree. I just don't know if teams are going into it saying like, hey, we're terrified of that, right? Like they're trying to stop. Right. I don't know if they're terrified. The Chiefs, they haven't hit that many, but I do think that's going to, now the Lions and the Jags, I do think played a little more top down than we had seen teams do last year. And then we saw to start this year. They definitely were playing a little bit more top down. I wonder if that changes when you have Rashee Rice catching some of these little crossers and not a Juju Smith-Schuster or not a Hollywood Brown, who are playing well. But when that becomes Rashee Rice, who's just a different level of athlete than those guys, I really do wonder how that all changes and pairs together. So I am really excited to see where this goes. And if you give defenses something that they actually have to game plan for that's not 15, then how good is he going to look? How good is he going to look when he gets to react to you being relatively predictable, because you have to slow something down? Right now, he kind of has to take every play as it comes, because there's nothing you can expect to be, other defenses to do, so to speak. And I think just once you get to that point, I am really excited to see how the rest of this year plays out. And 50 touchdowns is obviously probably not going to happen, but this might be comfortably the most touchdowns he's had in a year for a while now, because it looks like they might be kind of off of that kind of pace.
Yeah. And Ken, I thought, you got me thinking as you were talking about, going through these grinded out years for Patrick. And I do think they're going to end up being an important part of his evolution, because having the crutch, and obviously he's super successful and won a Super Bowl and went to Super Bowls with both Travis and Tyreek in their primes. But there is something about that too, that not having that, having Travis lose a few steps, not having Tyreek, that has, it's forced him to learn a little bit more about managing these games and get more comfortable living in that space. And it reminds me a little bit of, when I was working in the Lions scouting department and was there with Stafford and Calvin Johnson at its peak. And you would see with Matthew, sometimes it would be frustrating, because it's like, he knows Calvin's going to bail him out and, he doesn't have to necessarily do everything that he's supposed to do at the position, because you could just throw it up to 81. And Patrick had that to an extent with Tyreek and Travis at times, and losing those guys and now getting back. Obviously he doesn't have, as we talked about, anybody that's scary on that level, but now having a lot more talent around him, it's like you merge all the best pieces of Patrick together, and the stuff that he's gained in these last couple of years, not having that. It is and I think we saw it for Stafford over time. Like when Calvin abruptly retired, that ended up being one of the best things that happened for him as a quarterback. He evolved a ton after that. And, I think this is going to ultimately get us the best version of Has, like ridiculous as that is to think about. And as much as people want to say, because he only threw a Hail Mary 60 yards and his arm is washed. That was the take that was out there after the Jaguars game too. But as much as, as crazy as to think about, like, I do think like there are versions of Patrick, evolutions to Patrick that we're going to continue to see here going forward that are exciting.
All right, stickers, slaps, and whatever Hamilton decides to give out.
You know what? I think he should just give out something ambiguous. It should just there should never be anything ascribed to it. It should just be like, I'm giving this out.
I think it's like 1 week. It's just like
the coaster.
It's a main event card, like, and his wallet.
Like a half-used frozen yogurt card from like 2013.
A buy 10 pounds of meat, get one free at the deli, but like 9 of them are punch holed. Like
just deli that closed.
Oh man.
I think we're gonna let Hamilton. What are you giving out a KCSN coaster today?
Let's do it. Let's give out the coaster. Do I get to go first?
Yeah.
I'm giving out my KCSN coaster to Isaiah Pacheco for the way that he coasted through that Lions defense.
Let's go.
It wasn't the most prolific performance statistically, but I thought that was the best that he's looked all year, and in a couple of key moments too. And Maddie, as you've kind of talked about, the under center run game is coming along a little bit, and I thought he looked especially good there, better than we've seen him look there in the past. And when you look at the splits, he 8 yards over expected from under center, average 5.7 yards per carry. And I thought he brought some of that juice that we've seen from him in the past, and we didn't see as much last year with the injury, coming back off the injury. There were finally some signs of life in this run game. We had you had a running back lead the team in rushing for the second time all year. It was definitely a step in the right direction for this run game, and I was impressed with the way Isaiah ran the football. If they get that type of efficiency out of him going forward, maybe they don't necessarily need to make a move for a running back. Still on the fence about that, but these were some positive signs of life. So you get a coaster.
Enjoy your coaster, Pacheco.
Your drinks will not ruin your wood table.
No.
Well, and like, hey, he's already got a couple rings. He doesn't need any more rings. Am I right?
Oh.
Hey!
That was better. You should have led with that one.
That was good. I don't care what the judging of the sound effect board even said. I don't care. Helmet sticker for me goes to Kingsley Suamataia. Continues to take steps, continues to get better. He looks better and better at the left guard position, and like I think he's playing at an exceptionally good level compared to I think what we thought. Right, I think he's exceeding expectations for what the Chiefs. I think what we on the outside, we like the idea of Kingsley Suamataia trying it out there, but actually seeing him go out and play at a pretty capable level, I think has been really encouraging. He's not perfect still, but like I do think that he's settling in really nicely at that guard position, and looking at this team just churning over the left side and playing good football and being able to have a better offensive line this year than they did last year, despite losing Joe Thuney. I think a huge credit goes to Kingsley Suamataia for what he's done. And I think he had a really good performance against the Detroit Lions. Continues to get better. Still only 22 years old. This is a young player. So deserves a ton of credit. All right. What's the sticker? What's the sticker today, Matthew?
I don't give out.
Or butt slap. Sorry. What's the slap?
There we go. We're giving out a butt slap to Leo Chenal for slapping his way through the Lions offensive line. I thought the adjustments that we talked about earlier to the Lions run game was big. I thought Leo was kind of like the key part of that. Just the physicality he brings, the ability to really take on blockers. And Drew Trank will play good in this kind of role too. Don't get me wrong, but it just really pops when Leo Chenal is the guy that is moving downhill into the line of scrimmage, because you can't just catch his shoulder with an offensive guard and knock him off balance. You can't just have, a pulling tight end come through and take him out. He is going to win the majority of those battles. And so for a guy that I thought started last year really strong and then kind of got lost a little bit with the Chiefs trying to figure out how to weaponize him. I thought this is a really good showing for him in this game, especially once the Chiefs adjusted a little bit. He made some really nice plays as the anchor point on the outside of some wide stuff that the Lions tried to do. And then I really like the run blitzing. So yeah, Leo Chenal got that kind of game type that he needs to really take over the game. And I do think in the middle of the game towards the beginning of the second half is really putting his imprint on it. So a nice big old butt slap for Leo Chenal.
Well, that is going to do it for this episode of the KC Laboratory. Thank you all so much for listening, watching, supporting. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll catch you later.
Why are we throwing Falcons? What are we doing here?
And what the